Well, it took me a minute to get a ball rolling this morning because last night plans kind of got all shot up. Wasn't supposed to rain. We were supposed to be good through the weekend, and it rained last night. Not a lot. It was a light sprinkle, but my original intent was, if we were going to have a repeat of how things worked out yesterday, to be cutting beans by 10 o'clock. And that didn't work out. So this morning I drove around and checked beans to see how much rain we actually ended up with, because I took my gauge down when that snow came through because I didn't want to freeze and break it, and at this point I'm done caring. So drove around this morning, checked beans. I got some. Apparently we didn't get a whole lot of rain, but we did get a really heavy dew that's taking its sweet time burning off. So I do have some beans that I'll probably cut this afternoon. But in the meantime, I got a little field of corn we're gonna go shell to burn up some time. And so with all that being said, I thought I had everything pretty much ready to go, just needed to be all hooked up and everything, and apparently not, because about 2 hours later I finally had everything hooked up and sitting and ready to rock and roll. I don't know where all that time came from, but so I got a little 2-acre piece at my grandma's. I'm gonna go shell, just get that off the table, out of the way. That'll make about a truckload because the deer are getting into it, which is the other reason I want to get it off, because the deer are starting to get into it pretty bad. And then there's a field right over here by the house of beans that I'm gonna go try to cut this afternoon when the dew burns off. So, and then tomorrow morning I got a little field down in New Carlisle that we're gonna go pick while the dew's burning off, and hopefully go back to cutting beans tomorrow afternoon. So hopefully this weekend we can get a little bit of corn and a little bit of beans off, but we shall see. So anyhow, I'm gonna go get moved over to the field and we'll go from there. And actually, before I take off, I'm gonna go grab my battery chainsaw, because it's nice to have that. Okay, let's see what kind of mess we can make here. Dang, ragweed got a little out of hand right here, because when I was spraying, my uncle had his garden out and I didn't want to smoke everything in his garden, so I hung into the road. stuff the deer ate off of it, this field ain't doing that bad. I wasn't gonna make it back to the front, so. Also, I found the perfect spot to carry a saw. There's that nice little sunken in spot right there where it can't get out no matter which way it goes, and that way you don't get to carry it in a cab with you. But Dad should be here with a truck any second and knock the rest of this out. Alright, there's 2 acres done. Not much, but it's something. I was honestly expecting this field to be more of a fight down there by the waterway, but I really only went down one time, so not too bad. But definitely needed to come off because there was starting to be a fair bit of mold in them kernels, but you're not going to avoid it this year because all the ears are still standing straight up, and you got a husk around the ear. But since it's drying out, the husks are starting to open up, so all the rainwater's getting in, and the ears, or the kernels are starting to mold. So everybody's fighting it. But anyhow, run this to Mom and Dad's, take that truck in and dump it, and then we'll switch over to beans, hopefully. Tell you what, you think I got a mess? Check that out. They're out there cutting right now. They already stuck it once last night. Such is the fall we're dealing with. My God, that looks terrible. Yeah, they're up there loading out a train. Got the OGE running. I don't know what's wrong with their little, whatever you want to call that thing. The Rail King, but I know they got a trade name that they call them. Seems like last time I asked some people what that thing was, it was a GE 40 tonner, maybe was what they called it. I've always wanted to get up on it and see what it had in it for motors. Be able to see them up on top of the cars from back here. Oh, somebody made a mess. There's a big old pile of corn underneath there. Okay, that corn was pretty bad. That only graded number 5 because of that focus. Is it gonna focus? No. See that 10.5 right there? That's 10.5 damage. That's from all the mold that corn had in it. I don't know if they'd even took it much higher than that. That was pretty bad. I mean, I knew it was bad, but I didn't know it was that bad. So yeah, good thing we got that out of there, because another couple weeks of rain and that could have been a reject load. Of course, all they're gonna do is blend it off with good corn and you'll never know the difference. But anyhow, I'm gonna grab the combine, go over and start cutting, figure out where I can park the trucks. I can't back it in the field because the field entrance is too muddy, so I might have to load out on the road. But anyway, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. All right, so here's the long-awaited deer beans. I don't know how this field's gonna be as far as staying on top. It could go either way. There's only really 2 spots I'm super worried about, but it has firmed up a fair bit since just this morning. But the top isn't what worries you, it's what's underneath the top that's the problem. But anyhow, these beans, really, I mean, they're not gonna be spectacular, but like I said, after everything went down with them, I mean, they're short, but they are freaking loaded with 3 and 4 bean pods. So like I said, if I can get 30 bushel an acre off of these, that's a profit, and I really don't care. It was still cheaper than trying to replant them and have them still do 30 bushel an acre. So we shall see. But my cousin, just by chance today, got permission to hunt out here, and he is like super duper big buck hunter. So, well, not necessarily just bucks. He farms deer like they're cattle because he loves his venison. So hopefully he can thin the herd out a little bit. So anyhow, I guess we'll see if we can't come out here and get stuck. And I think if I open the old gate where I used to come in before I made a better way to get in, I'll walk over here real quick. I think it's dry enough to park the truck there if I just nose it, or if I just back right inside the gate there. That way I don't have to try to load and unload on the, or load on the road. Yeah, it's firm enough here. I guess the next big thing is, oh no, the power company cut the lock on it, so I don't even have to, I was gonna say I don't even remember if I had the key for the lock anymore, but the lock's not there, so I guess we'll see what we can make happen, huh? All right, I got most of the end rows worked off. There's obviously wet spots, but I gotta get the truck so that I can get some out of the hopper so that I can lighten it up so I can get through. I don't know if we're gonna hit 30 or not. The outside rows on this kind of took a beating, but we'll get what we can get. So, oh lordy, I wished I could have found dual. Well, I found several sets of duals for it, but they were either, the guys were asking $1,200 for a set of 25% clamp-ons that they thought were something special, or you run into the guys that you know that have them that are like, yeah, you can borrow them if you want, but I really don't want to sell them. Like, hell, if I got to modify my rims, I want duals that are going to be mine. So, anyhow, Kelly's coming to get me, and we'll bring the truck over. know this shit can stop anytime. This time it didn't even give me a warning. I just, boom. I didn't. It was like I mean, I knew I was in soft ground because I could feel it, but then it's like I just drove off of a wall and it just nosedived, and that was all she wrote. I don't get it. This is the highest spot in the entire damn field. How the hell is this the wet? Like, it drains that way, it drains that way, it drains that. This is literally the highest fucking spot in the field. How the hell is this the spot where you get stuck? Well, at least the nice thing about this one is it's so dang small that when you pull on it, it yanks right out. I don't even think the white slipped the tire. Get what I can get. Well, it's done. All except for one little spot, like 2 header widths wide and 6 feet across. Right there in the swale I couldn't get, but right there's where I got stuck. As you can see, I had to go across the roads. Riddle me this: you go across the roads, you sink a little bit, but you don't cut ruts, you don't spin. You try to follow the roads, you cut ruts, you spin, and you get stuck. Makes no sense. But if you'd have told me that I'd have got this done before daylight, the way things were going, I'd have called you a liar. Right there, that little spot right there. I had to admit defeat on that one because I wasn't going to get stuck again. But it ain't getting any drier, that's for damn sure. Maybe if we could start catching, you know, multiple days of sunshine in a row, but like you saw today, it was sunny until about 3 o'clock, and then this crap blew in. Even though the forecast said mostly clear skies tonight, that ain't, unless something changes really quick, that ain't gonna happen. Wouldn't it just be the perfect end of the day if the grain truck wouldn't crawl out of here? That would be the icing on the cake. Okay. First gear in these things. That's the unsynchronized gear, and they're always grindy. Oh, well, at least one thing can go right. Well, there's a decent pile in there. I needed 240 bushel to make 30 bushel an acre. I don't think we quite made 240. There might be 200 in here. 200 would be 25 bushel an acre, so still wouldn't be a bad deal for the crap that field went through. Would have been better if the back half had been as good as the front half was pretty good. The back half not so much. But the bad spots in the field also, just by coincidence, coincided with all the spots where I was cutting ruts and sinking. Which means there was also damage from too much water when we had all those really heavy rains there in end of June, beginning of July, that flooded a lot of areas out. So, holy crap, there's a grasshopper. You probably don't feel too good, do you, bud? Probably a little cold for you. So anyhow, I guess we'll know what that field went in the morning. And I don't know if I'm going to try to cut more beans tomorrow or not, because any field I got left with beans on it is going to be as bad or worse than that, and I don't know if it's worth it. And the one field of corn I'm going to go shell tomorrow is the only one left that I am confident that I can get over it without too much hassle. I think. I hope. I guess we'll find out. So anyhow, I guess we'll just have to see how things play out. I tell you what, I've never been so ready for fall to be over in my life. There has not been a single enjoyable moment about farming in 2023. It has just been a nightmare from the end of April until now. It's just, yeah. I can't wait for my tracks to get here. I ended up going with the set in Canada because they come with the cart. They're for a white combine. The ones that I found here in town are actually off of a Gleaner, and they hobcobbed them onto an 8600, and it did a very bad job of it at that. And I asked the guy what he wanted, and he's like, well, I don't exactly know. I know that back when we had them rebuilt, I had about $5,000 in parts. It's like, yeah, Gary, that was 35 years ago. And they've been sitting ever since. And that wasn't even the price he wanted. That's just the number he threw out of what he had in parts. That doesn't mean he'd sold it for that. But he's also one of them guys where he expects to get as much or more out of a piece of equipment now versus when he paid for it new or whatever he bought it for, which he might be able to pull off in today's used equipment market if it was a bunch of really nice stuff. But he's one of them guys in one of them farms where that's where equipment went to die. So I don't know. So I ended up finding a place just over the border in Canada that specializes in shipping farm equipment across the border both ways. And hopefully, I was hoping they were going to have me a quote Friday, but the lady left work early, so hopefully she'll call me back Monday and we can get the ball rolling on this, because I don't want to be shelling corn in January. We're going to be shelling corn in December. There ain't no way around that, but I really don't want to be shelling corn after the first of the year. I want to be done before Christmas. Would be ideal. If I got tracks, it wouldn't be any problem, but... And I do know where there's a mud hog to fit that combine. But unfortunately with a mud hog, you're still going to be cutting ruts. You're just going to have a greater chance of pushing through rather than getting stuck. And the whole point of getting the tracks is to avoid cutting the ruts altogether. Because that combine's light enough on the rear that as long as the front end doesn't cut ruts and there's nothing for the rear end to fall into, the rear will stay up just fine. Because the rear, even with the tires, or even with the way it sits now, the rear axle never goes down until the rear end falls in the ruts that the front axle's cutting. So, but that being said, I think eventually, well, I want to buy the combine that the mud hog is on anyway, because it's an 8900. Fortunately, the motor's been ripped out of it already, which would have been too handy, because that would have fit in the 2105. But the rest of the combine's there, so that, you know, you'd have walkers and pulleys and final drives and the hydro and a transmission, all that fancy crap, plus the mud hog and everything on top of it. And could you imagine that combine with tracks and a mud hog with a 4-row narrow head on it, or a 13-foot table? It would be unstoppable. It would take an act of God to get that thing stuck. But anyhow, sorry, I'm tired. I'm rambling. So anyhow, that's it for this one. We'll catch you guys on the next one.